8th edition of the European Investment Summit hosted by DDC Financial Group. Here we are with Ms. Bliss Morris, CEO of First Financial Networks. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Ms. Morris, your career began in the loans sales, involved in numerous Freddie Mac closing during the last financial crisis. Let's start from the last financial crisis in 2008 and then 2009, because in the 9th of March, in the last week, they passed 10 years and then the long-lasting bull market was born. First of all, which is the first lesson maybe we learned about it?
I think in this particular crisis, although my career started a little earlier than that, back in the 80s during the savings and loan crisis and banking crisis in the U.S. at that time. But I think what we've learned in particular in terms of this crisis, at least in the U.S., is that we were very quick to resolve the non-performing loans that were created from many, many bank failures.
How the financial crisis shaped this market, in particular the NPL market?
So how that's happened is that if you go back to the genesis of the NPL market, it really was created in the mid-'80s when there was an extensive banking crisis in the U.S., and that's where the sale of NPLs actually began, where the FDIC and the Resolution Trust Corporation moved forward to find investors and to create packages to be sold on the secondary market.
And now let's move to nowadays, which is the reality now, because we see nowadays a huge market in the European country, in particular Italy, Greece, Spain and Portugal. Which is your point of view?
You know, my point of view right now is that although a lot of the NPLs have been sold and cleaned up to a degree, there is still a very, very large overhang of assets. And I think what we've heard this morning already from some experts in the industry is that everyone's wondering, when will we experience the next crisis? And the reality is that there's an overhang of loans and REO and other assets that still are yet to be sold. And so if there's a time in which the next crisis and the overhang has not been taken care of, what sort of problems will that create for us at that point?
You attended an important panel here at the European Investment Summit, talking about new opportunities and new developments. Which are the big ones you are looking for, of course, in the European environment?
Probably two specific areas, certainly in Eastern Europe. I think that the investor community has become much more interested in the sale of assets, and they understand it better in Eastern Europe than they did before, and certainly in Ukraine as well. I also think, just speaking about Europe in general, that there's an incredible opportunity in Italy.
And last but not least, of course, let's talk about First Financial Networks. Have you got any deals coming up?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we do. We just closed one for the Deposit Guarantee Fund in the National Bank of Ukraine in December. That was actually the first loan portfolio that had been sold in Ukraine. But we will be coming to market with another very large portfolio with a premier asset, an REO asset in it, in the next coming weeks, and there'll be many portfolios to follow.
Bliss Morris for DDC Financial Group. We remember CEO of First Financial Networks. Thank you for joining us and enjoy your time here at the European Investment Summit, the 8th edition.
Thank you.